NHS versus culture. So, as you've already been told, I've worked in the NHS for a while in therapy radiography, and during that time, I've become passionate about the quality of care we give our patients, but also about that patient's experience while they're with us. So during that time, I have seen, normally on a daily basis, the extremes of our culture. So we go from this amazing culture where we exceed our patients' expectations, we provide outstanding care, outstanding service, all the way to the other end where we don't even meet our patients' expectations. We provide a bad service and we all come away feeling terrible. So I was given the opportunity to go for 3 days to a Toyota car engine factory in North Wales. And I thought, what has car engines got to do with the quality of care that I give my patients? I have absolutely no idea. But I'll go. Okay, it's 3 days. Why not? So I went. And while we were there, we all sat in this big room, and they started telling us about the Toyota way, about their culture, about their removal of waste, about their processes, and we sat there and I thought, okay, fine, you know, I've heard this sort of thing before, Lean, Six Sigma, you know, what makes this any different? Well, then we went out onto the factory floor. This was the moment. I understood why we were there. This blew my mind. For those of you who work for the NHS, the Toyota way is very different. What did I see that was so different? So we're out on the factory floor, and the first thing they said to us was, we've put these paths on the floor. Now, they're physically mapped on the floor, right? We're asking you for your safety to stick to these pathways. We've got robots, we've got equipment, please stick to the pathways. Fine. So for the very first 10 minutes, the NHS staff, they diligently stuck to these pathways. 20 minutes in, they started veering off, and the Toyota staff were like, no, please stick to the pathways. By the end, they were all over the place. It was a very interesting observation. What else did I see? So we were asked to stand by a conveyor belt where they had all these different engines going around, and per shift, they have to produce 500 engines, which I thought, okay, that's similar, that's high pressure. We have to treat all our patients before we can go home. Fine, okay. Why is this going to be different? Part of the Toyota culture is innovation from the ground up. So their staff are actively supported and encouraged to have ideas and to develop them. So we were standing at the conveyor belt, and there's quite a large section, and one of the staff members was telling us about how they used to have to walk with the engine but go back and forth to the trolley to get bits of equipment. But one of their members of staff came up with an idea that the trolley followed them and then retracted back on its own, ready to start again. What really impressed me was that employee was encouraged to have that idea. They were allowed to own it, develop it. Nobody said to them, that's fantastic, but it's not your job, we're going to give it to somebody else to do. Or, that's a great idea, but you've got to fill out all these forms and you've got all this red tape. They just allowed him to develop it, to innovate it, to problem solve it. He owned that idea, and as a result, Toyota's conveyor belt moved smoother. What else did we see? We were told before we went out that part of their culture is they encourage their staff to ask for help. That involves stopping production. So I thought, we're never going to see that. They're not going to do that. But they did, and we saw it 5 times. So somebody would pull a cord, the conveyor belt would stop, somebody would immediately go to that person, ask what the problem was, they'd problem solve, and they'd move on. There was no drama, nothing, very smooth, very slick. So I decided as this was going on that I would watch all the other people around this conveyor belt to see how they felt, see the reactions. And every time it stopped, they finished what they were doing and they just waited until it started again. And if it took a while, they had a chat to the person next to them, but as soon as it started, off they went. There was no huffing, there was no puffing, there was no, stop pulling the cord, we have 500 engines to get out, I need to get home. There was none of that. They just waited and they carried on, and it ran so smoothly. It was really interesting. So I came away with all these amazing ideas, and I thought, how on earth could we take what we have seen and implement it back in our department? What I didn't want to do was the typical NHS thing of, I have this amazing idea, this is how we're going to do it, so can you all just do it? I didn't want to do that. So then I saw this, the RCBC Wales First into Research. And my initial thought was, I don't do research. In fact, after my degree, I swore I was never, ever going to do anything like that ever again. Awful. But I started to think, well, why research? To do research, you have to have data, you find evidence, you're fact-finding. You provide recommendations. And I thought this is how we make sustainable, real change. We do it alongside research. So I went to my new manager and our new R&D lead, and I thought, I'm going to put this idea forward, so I did. Shockingly, they went, that's a great idea, you should do it. I was terrified. I was like, okay, fine, yeah. And then I thought, well, I'm not the expert on the Toyota way. The guys at Toyota are. So I had a Teams call with them, and somehow, and I'm still not quite sure how, but they have agreed to be part of this research, so we're going to do it together. They are the experts on the Toyota way. I'm the expert on my department. So what's the aim of this research? We're going to do it the Toyota way. We're going to start really, really small. And we're going to see if, and it's a big if, the Toyota way can be implemented within our radiotherapy department. It's 12 months of research, and all we want to do is see if it is possible. How are we going to do it? We're going to talk to the staff at Velindre. We're going to establish the current culture within the department. We're going to teach them about the Toyota way, about this innovation from the ground up, about this openness of communication that they have, where they don't work in silos, where one department has to go through 3 other departments before they can talk to that department all the way over there. It's very, very open all the way through. We're going to ask them, what do they think the barriers will be to implementing the Toyota way? What trouble do they think will come about if we start doing this? What are their worries? What are their concerns? We're going to take the senior management team all the way up to North Wales to the Toyota factory for 2 days and get them to observe what I observed, to get that really important buy-in, and that's a big part of the Toyota way, the buy-in. We're also going to talk to the patient liaison group to make sure that our patients feel that this research is valuable, that this is the way they want us to go. And then moving forward. So we're hoping at the end of this 12 months we will get some recommendations of how we can implement the Toyota way, hopefully. Then we would like to go on to do further research into the actual implementation of these recommendations. And some final thoughts. So as I said, research was something I never ever thought that I would do. And I have been given this amazing opportunity, and it's led to me being here, talking to you about what I'm passionate about. And I really do believe that the way we make sustainable change is alongside research. But I wanted to finish with a question to you all. Do you think the way of making an NHS of the future that meets all the modern demands that we've already heard about today is just to keep ploughing in the money? Or do we actually need to take a step back and look to see if we need to make a cultural shift? Thank you.